that bit out of the service later. What a powerful service it's been so far, hasn't it? I'm always inspired when somebody stands up and makes their statement of faith in church and says, yes, I believe. Yes, I'm on this journey with Jesus. It is a powerful thing. When Nicole shared her personal statement of faith and made those promises to grow as a disciple of Jesus, to participate in the community that we have here, and to be part of God's mission in this world, it's such a good link to what growing generosity is all about. It's all about. Our growing generosity journey is reminding us the example and the way of living that Jesus offers us, and making that commitment to reflect that way, that example in our own lives and our own church. It's catching a glimpse of what God is doing amongst us as a community, and then responding with our hearts and our energy and our lives. Today's sermon, the title of it is Real Significance, and it's tied to the question that, I don't know, some of us might have had at different points, about this idea of, does my life really matter? Oh, I'm a bit further. There it is. Does my life really matter? Does my life really matter? The prophet Isaiah wrestled with this at some point when he said in Isaiah 49, he said, the work I'm doing seems useless. I've spent my strength for nothing and there's no purpose at all. I don't know if you could say that Isaiah had no purpose, but we all feel that every now and again, don't we? I've had those moments over the last month where I've been working on something and I'm going, what's the point? Is this going to make any difference at all? I'm putting all this effort in. What's the point? What's the point? And I guess that's what I want to try and explore this morning, because we all want our lives to mean something, don't we? We all want the work that we do to make a difference. Sometimes when we're struggling to look at, well, what is the purpose of life? Different people approach this question in different ways. For some people, they don't have the time or space, a headspace to even begin to consider this question. They're just trying to get through each day. They're just trying to survive, meeting the obligations and expectations that they have, doing what needs to be done. So their purpose is just getting through the day. For others, meaning is found in success. If you achieve more, if you provide for yourself and your family, there is meaning in that. So they chase after those things, whether that is comfort or recognition, or really whatever the world calls achievement, a good home, a good job, the right possessions. Those things aren't bad, but sometimes people achieve all that and they still go, I don't know, it's not meeting that need. It's almost like it takes more than status to satisfy the soul. So in the Sermon on the Mount, which we got a little bit more of this week, but we also looked at last week, Jesus wants to take us to a deeper level, beyond that sense of survival or success, to look at maybe the meaning of life is about significance. People who live with a sense of significance know that they are contributing to something which is larger than themselves. And this is what drives them. They want to make a difference. They want to make a difference. Does that resonate with you? It certainly does with me. I want to know that I'm not just going through the motions, that I'm actually making a difference. And I think we want that for our church too, don't we? We don't want our church just to go through the motions. We want our church to make a difference in people's lives, in the community that we have here, in the world around us. We want to make a difference. That in everything we do, in worship, in service, in mission, that we are being helpful, that we are bringing the love that we've just talked about, the love of God, the grace that we have received to the world around us. As I said, this is exactly what Jesus is trying to get at in Matthew chapter 5 in the Sermon on the Mount. We started last week by looking at the Beatitudes, which was that surprising nature that Jesus was trying to say about who is blessed. Blessed are not the people who are worldly successful, but when we follow the example and the way of Jesus, we find that we are blessed. And Jesus follows that up with these two statements in the reading that we had today about you are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. In Jesus' day, salt was very precious. It was used to preserve, to protect, to bring out flavour. And it was almost like Jesus going, you are like salt. You're important. Your life matters. You have something special to bring to the people around you, to your communities, to the world around you. You have got something special. You can make life better for the people around you. And when Jesus says you are the light of the world, he's saying, and don't hide that. You've been given something special. Don't just put it in a corner where nobody can see it. Make sure the thing that you have found is shining bright so that others can see God's goodness through you. Jesus is challenging us to make part of our discipleship is to make a difference in the world around us and in the communities that we belong to. So I guess the question is, are we doing that here at Tuck in our church? Well, I think we are. I think we have for a long time, and I think that we are, in our mission planning process that we've been through, is hearing God saying, continue to do that work. And I think it's linked to the two pillars that I mentioned last week that has emerged from our mission planning process. If you weren't here last week, let me catch you up. I mentioned that for the past nearly 12 months, our church have been in a long conversation of how we might strengthen our church to continue to be a vibrant, life-giving and fruitful church into the 2030s. And as part of this mission planning process, we've met in large groups and in small groups. We've talked to other churches. We've had lots of conversations. We've prayed and tried to discern what God is saying to us. And we've talked some more. It's been a long process. And in all of this, there's been three main points that kept repeating itself. And we sort of believe that God speaks in repetition. And if these keep coming up in different ways, then we need to listen to them. And I mentioned this last week. We believe that God wants us to continue to grow as a church that is grounded in transformational discipleship. So that was the first one. Connected in genuine relational community, and to be a church that is both growing and sustainable. Last week we talked a little bit about that discipleship pillar, and today I'm just going to dip into just briefly what it means to have relational community. But really, both those two things are intertwined. It's very hard to separate the two because discipleship best grows in community. And community informs our discipleship. So whilst I have separated them over 2 weeks, they're really intertwined. Discipleship was never meant to be a solo journey. That's why we made a promise together to support Nicole and all of us here on our discipleship journey, because we do it together in community. Last week I read out our value on discipleship. I'm going to read out our value that you can find on our website, or you can hear more about if you come to our Inspire evenings. But this is the value that we have written up about community. It says, we are a church where people feel known, loved, and deeply connected. Our relationships are more than just surface level. They are places of mutual support and shared life. This value drives our emphasis on welcoming newcomers, nurturing belonging, and growing a community that spans generations, cultures, and life experiences. We believe the church is not an event but a shared life, and that relationships are the soil which faith grows best. I really like that wording, that idea that the discipleship, the journey that we are on, works best in community. A strong, encouraging, connected community is important for all of us to be growing in our faith. And when people find a church with that sense of community, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. It's life-changing. I learnt this, I was reminded of that point yesterday. I don't know if you've heard what Mara and I did yesterday. We did a 11-hour round trip to go to a 4-hour 60th birthday party down near the Victorian border. A really good friend's 60th birthday party. Why would we drive that far for a 4-hour party? Because of community. Because the people who were gathering were our friends from our Bible study group when we were in our 20s. These were the people who helped shape my faith. This was the community that nurtured me in my early discipleship journey. It was also the community that welcomed Marion when we got married, and she became part of that community. It was their friendship, their encouragement, their prayers that made a difference. And 25 years later, those relationships still matter. They formed me. So there was no question that we were going to do an 11-hour round trip to go to this birthday party. Of course we're going to be there. And we saw it again this morning with Nicole standing up the front here, that the community gathered around her as she made this public declaration. We want that community for Nicole, don't we? That 25 years later, we want this community to still matter to us. We want to be a community that supports each other, walks alongside each other in the good and the tough times. We want to be a community that helps each other and makes a difference in our lives and in our faith journey. But we don't only want it for the people who are here in this building today. We want it for all people who might cross our paths. We want it for the community that's around us as well, the other circles that we interact with. We want them to experience that too. I actually talk more about this at the Inspiration Night. So if you haven't been one yet, please come. Sign-in tables at the back there or online. But one of the most powerful ideas that has emerged for me through this mission planning process is this idea of what's next. What's next? Or creating a what's next culture. For all people who are connected with our church community here, I've added in an extra line there, it is. For all people who are connected to Tuck, whether that's a first-time experience or whether that's a long-term member, we want to make a difference in their lives by helping you take another step on your journey. Whether that's another step on your journey of faith or another step in your connectedness to this community. And we're doing that by asking the question, what's next? Now you might be thinking, I've been on this journey of faith for way too long. I don't have any more steps to go. Even a mature tree grows, doesn't it? A mature tree never stops growing. There is always a next step. Imagine if every group, every event, every program that we have here in our Tuck community asked the question, what's next? What's next for this person? What's their next step on the journey of faith or the journey of connection with this community? What's next for the Mama Playgroup? Or the 800 people that come to carols? Or the people who come to the Sunday Fun Day? What's next for the person who is sitting here this morning in this church right now? What's next for you? How do we encourage that ongoing journey as a community? If we started to ask that question and created the pathways to help us all take that next step, the impact would be transformational. I believe that people would feel more connected, discover faith and grow deeper in their walk with God. Or from the simple question, what's next? This question could be one of the most powerful discipleship tools that we use over the next 10 years. What's next? I also think it comes down to making a difference too. And I think this is where it links back into our overall theme of generosity. This program, Growing Generosity, is calling us to create a culture of generosity within our church. Or should I say, strengthen the culture of generosity in our church, because I believe it's already here. We want to do this because a generous culture makes a difference. When we give our time, our energy and our resources, we are joining in God's work of renewal and hope. Think about it. When the youth leaders meet here on a Friday night amongst the noise and the chaos, are they making a difference? Yes, they are, as they invest in the kid's life. When Alan Williams left his bequest, did that make a difference? Yes, and it still is. It's supporting a lot of the youth ministry that we are doing. When our tech team gets here early and sets up, does that make a difference? Yes. When the morning tea people are serving, or the musicians are playing, or the welcomers are at the back door, is that making a difference? Yes. It is when we are generous with our time, with our energy, with our talents, with our resources, that difference is made. In our reading from Micah, God challenges the people who think faith is just about rituals or duties. God reminds us we got to live out what we believe. It's not just about going through the motions, God says. You know, you can give me 1,000 rams, it's not going to make the difference. The difference is when we act justly or love mercy or walk humbly with our God. That's what makes a difference. That's when we find what significance in life is about. In a few moments, we're going to share together in communion, which to me is the ultimate act of generosity. God reminds us in this sacrament of what Jesus has given to us and invites us when we eat the bread, when we drink from the cup, to give ourselves back to God. We're invited to shine our light. We're invited to be like salt and make a difference in the people and in our communities around us. So may we be people of salt and light, generous in love, courageous in faith, and committed to sharing Christ's light and making a difference in our world. Amen.